definitely don't want to miss today's show today. We are talking with the one, the only Tosca Lee, New York Times best-selling author, coming up next right here on The Right Stuff. Stay tuned. You are listening to the best, the only place to be on Tuesday night. That's right, you're listening to The Right Stuff, and you're at the right place at the right time. From England to Canada, from Detroit to the Poconos, we are showcasing Christian authors worldwide, giving you tips, tools, techniques, and resources for you, the writer, to hone and perfect your craft. Tune in every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time right here on WPJC 104.5. And your host, Parker J. Cole. I am so glad you are able to join me today for this special edition of The Right Stuff. I'm so glad because we have the one, the only Tosca Lee, New York Times best-selling author, returning to The Right Stuff to share about her newest work as well as the Realm Makers Conference. If you follow this show, you know that Tosca Lee was on our show when I first started 3 years ago now. Can you believe it's been 3 years since I've been the host of The Right Stuff? And she was so gracious to come onto the show, and I'm so glad to have her back again. So if you want to talk to Tosca Lee, you'll have an opportunity to do that today. All you have to do is call in or hit me on Twitter or hit me on Facebook. You'll be able to talk to Tosca Lee and ask her any questions you may have about her work or about Realm Makers. So you definitely want to stay tuned right here. If you know someone else who's a Tosca Lee fan, go ahead, call them, let them know Tosca Lee is live today on The Right Stuff at the right place here in the D, WPJC 104.5. Again, you want to call in, you can call in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air. Or once again, hit me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #Right Stuff with your questions and comments. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Tosca Lee, so stay tuned right there. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guests on The Right Stuff radio show. We'll be right back.
Engaging the culture's imagination through speculative fiction, the Untold Podcast produces audio fiction from a Christian worldview. Find us over at untoldpodcast.com, where we partner with authors to tell science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, and horror stories. Find links at untoldpodcast.com to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, and a variety of other platforms. Each month we produce high-quality audio fiction that's free to download and free to listen. Our submissions are open, and we're always looking to add another great story to over 24 hours of narrative entertainment. Find all of our audio fiction over at www.untoldpodcast.com.
Question: if you write a book, everybody will rush out to buy it. Obvious answer, no. If you were a celebrity or if you had a huge marketing budget, then maybe you can get a lot of exposure for your book. Another solution would be to check out joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com is a promotion and marketing service with access to over 1/3 followers on Twitter. joeytweets.com has 3 packages available to fit any budget. That's joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com. Get some serious exposure for your books.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff. Hi, and welcome back to the show. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Like I said before the break, we are going to be talking to the one, the only New York Times bestselling author, Tosca Lee. She has returned back to The Right Stuff to give us an update of what's going on with her writing career, as well as anything else you want to talk about here on the show. So if you want to call in, feel free to do so. You can call in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air. Or hit me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #Right Stuff with your questions and comments. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the one, the only Tosca. Tosca, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm awesome. It's so great to be back. I can't believe it's been so long since we last chatted.
Yeah, I know. And so many things have changed since then. I know you've gone on to write more books. I know I've gone on to write more books. It's been just such a blessing to catch up with you. I always think of how nervous I was when you came on board the show the first time. And
no, you didn't seem nervous.
I
You
may
were
have
a
seen it.
pro.
Oh, my producer was actually coaching me the entire time because I was
What?
so nervous.
Nuh-uh. You
It's
were
so
an
funny.
absolute pro. I thought you'd been doing this for years. So, yeah, no, you were completely awesome. So it's so good to be back. And, yeah, a lot's gone on in the last few years, huh?
I know. It's been one of those things, and I'm glad to talk about it with you, you know, because when we first came on, I had read Hava, and I really enjoyed Hava, and I remember talking about it a lot, and now there's other books that you've written so far. So let's go ahead. Okay, let's back up first. For those people who may not have heard of you, let's back up. For those people who may not have heard of who you are, go ahead and tell us in your own words who Tosca Lee is. I could read a bio all the time, but you tell us who you are in your own words.
You know what? I'm a nerd girl who writes books, and I like Bible stories. I've written stories about people like Eve. I've written about Judas, the Queen of Sheba. That was my most recent one. And at that book signing for the Queen of Sheba, my boyfriend actually proposed to me. So now, as of January, I am now newly married. I'm a newlywed. And so still writing books, but I'm also now a new mom of 4 because I married a single father. So a lot has changed. And I also write speculative fiction, which is, you know, sci-fi, fantasy type, you know, stuff. And so I had a series that I did with Ted Deckard, which was futuristic and dystopian. And I've got a new book coming out, and it is a slight supernatural thriller. So I wrote that book in between, after getting engaged and while planning a wedding, and I wrote the sequel while getting married and going on my honeymoon. So it's been a crazy few years.
That is so amazing. Congratulations. Oh, my gosh.
Thank you.
That is beautiful.
Thank you. So life has changed a lot for me.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. I remember, I think, gosh, Tosca, when you were on, because this Thursday is my 9th wedding anniversary. This Thursday. It'll be my 9th wedding anniversary. So that's kind of serendipitous, you know.
That's special. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Hard earned and hard won. Definitely.
Any big plans for the anniversary?
The only big plans for the anniversary is probably going out, having some time to ourselves, because we're both working on our individual projects. So probably just going out, having fun, and hanging out maybe, or may just stay home and watch a movie. You know,
there are nights when you're like, yeah, we were going to go do all this stuff, and we were totally ambitious, but let's eat and watch TV.
Yeah, just spend time with each other.
Really great. Yeah.
That's spend time with each other.
Sometimes that's the best. Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Right. I totally agree, because we can get so caught up in trying to make it a big deal that you forgot you guys are the big deal. You know, me and him, we're the big deal. So I totally we may just sit home and just watch TV, which is great. It sounds exciting just thinking about
now, what do you like to watch on TV, Parker? What are you watching?
Well, right now I'm watching a lot of Korean dramas right now. I'm watching a ton of those right now.
Are you really? You know I'm half Korean.
Oh, yeah. I am learning Korean, too.
Those Korean dramas are awesome.
Oh, man. They get you psyched and sucked in so well. They really know how to work that screen. And like I said, I'm learning Korean, too. So watching a lot of that right now.
Oh, my gosh. That's great. That's great.
Yes, I'm excited. And that's how I got into it, was watching Korean dramas, and my husband got into it because he listens to K-pop. So, that's what we're doing right now. So that's what I'm watching. But so, you know, going back to you, because I don't want to focus on me, because you're the star. You know, I want to go.
Yeah, but I love the Korean dramas and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and they are absolutely amazing. There's a few of them I've watched over and over again. I love Soji Saab, and I love the guy from Moon Embracing the Sun. I can't think of his name right now. And then so many others that I
don't know. But Korean dramas are huge. I mean, they're huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I think what it is, too, is that the country has taken over entertainment via their pop culture, and they're just staying true to their culture. Like with America, like if you look at a Korean drama, they're often much shorter than American soap operas, if you want to put them in the same category. American soap operas can last for 1,000 years, okay? So Korean dramas can last, 25 episodes max. Sometimes they're very popular. They go on longer than that, and they know how to really grab your attention. And you're always fascinated by the intricacies and the nuances of the culture itself, from the respect of elders and hierarchy and formality. I love that aspect of it. I think that's why a lot of other people like that aspect of K-dramas. And, of course, they keep you going. They just keep you, every week you got to find out what happened, because we end on this cliffhanger note. And you're like, oh, what happened? I have to keep going. Or you just binge watch them.
So you're binge watching Korean dramas?
Yes. I will binge watch in a minute. I just finished watching one last week. Called Beating Again. I just watched that one last week, and I binged on it for like 2 days, and then I said, look, you got to do this in spurts. You got to do it in spurts. So force yourself to watch one episode a day. So, yeah, but they're very addictive. So I hope our listeners, if you haven't watched any K-dramas, you need to get on it. They're so popular for a reason. You will absolutely love them. So I love them a lot. So that's kind of cool. So my thoughts just ran away, because now we're talking about K-dramas, and I could talk about K-dramas all day long.
I'm Korean, so you're speaking my language.
Oh, good. So let's see. So you've gotten married. You have 4 children now. And you started working on your newest release. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about your new release coming out next week, I think it is.
Yeah, a week from today. So this is, it's called The Progeny. It's a thriller. It's got this main character who's 21 years old. Her name is Emily Porter, and she's just elected to have the last 2 years of her memory erased, and she doesn't know why, but she starts over in upstate Maine in the woods, and at this cabin and this quiet existence, until the day that a killer shows up, and he's after her, and she doesn't know why. Well, she comes to realize that she's the descendant of this infamous female serial killer named Elizabeth Bathory, whom they call the Blood Countess, and that she's being hunted because she's a member of this descendancy of the Blood Countess, and that she's protecting a powerful secret. But everything that she also needs to survive, she's also erased in order to protect. And so she goes on the run, and it takes her to Croatia and Hungary and Italy and Slovakia and all these kind of fun, interesting places in Europe. And it's a thrill ride, and it's something fun. And I'm right in the middle of edits for the sequel right now, which comes out in February. And this was super fun for me. It was fun because these kinds of books are always fun to write, but also because as part of the research, I went to Europe. I went to Hungary. I was an hour from the Ukrainian border. I was at all these places. And I took my mom with me, and my mom loves to travel. I totally got my wanderlust from her. And so as soon as I was like, you want to go to Europe with me? She was already packing her bags. And so we went tromping all over. And so I have these great memories of doing this with my mom, and I just gotten engaged. And it's a super fun thrill ride, and I'm really excited for readers to read it. And it does have spiritual content too. Obviously, it's not a biblical story from the Bible. But it does have questions of identity and who are you really, and what is it that makes you special, and where is God in the middle of really confusing circumstances. So that's the story.
I like how you say that, because there are a lot of people who write, especially Christians who like to write. They don't necessarily want to just stick to biblical stories, which I think is fine. I think if you have the gift to write, you can write what you'd like. I think it could be God-honoring if you don't, let's say, write something strictly from within the faith. If you could just explore certain concepts like whether or not you're special, whether or not you matter, whether or not something drastic happened to you.
Yeah, whether God, we're told our whole lives that God loves us, but in this story, there's a character who says, this friend of mine said to me, you're going to have to accept the fact that God likes you. Well, how many of us have thought about the fact that God likes us? I mean, the first time somebody said that to me, it nearly broke me, because you grow up knowing God loves you, but the idea that God could like you, that's, for some reason, that just feels really different, and that's something different to think about,
Yeah.
So this talks about that. This talks about how everybody is different. There's, this is written for people who struggle with seeing the world differently, whether you have, I'm clinically diagnosed with OCD, which some people know about me, but whether you have OCD, whether you're bipolar, whatever it is, you have certain gifts and you are very special. So this is about that too.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a lot of vulnerability with admitting that, hey, I have something that could be one way, and then you say, God still likes you anyway. And I like that you mentioned that, because some people, first of all, we're not always very honest about our weaknesses, but then the Lord says He makes us strong in our weaknesses. And I think you don't have to let that stop you from accomplishing your goal. And I think that's totally cool, by the way, that you mentioned that. And so I really appreciate that you mentioned that. So I can let our other listeners know, and our other writers out there, nothing can stop you. You know what I mean, Tosca? Nothing doesn't have to stop you. You just learn how to work around it. Actually, I heard a really good hashtag today, Tosca. One of my friends, she's a marketer, her hashtag, she said, "Do it scared." That was her hashtag, "Do it scared." And I thought that was real profound for her to say that, because it doesn't matter if you're scared. As long as you do it, you never know where you'll go, because coming out of your comfort zone, coming out of that, you'll be surprised at what else is out there. If you just do it, if you're scared, but just do it, because you never find out what happens. And I know fear is a huge barrier for a lot of authors who want to write, don't write. What would you say to that, Tosca?
You know what? Fear is so much a part of our daily lives, and it's a normal part of my daily life. And if I could do one thing in my life, it would be to just totally banish fear, which seems so hard to do, because, we're ruled by fear. Like you put your safety belt on when you get in a car because you're afraid in case you get in a car accident. I mean, which is a practical thing to do, but, there's so much fear everywhere in our lives. And I love that idea of doing it scared, because you can't let fear get in your way. And I love the idea, too, of, we're all different. We all have things we struggle with. For some, maybe it's fear. For some, maybe, you're like me, you have OCD. For some, whatever it is, that doesn't have to be a struggle per se. You are very special, and all those things are gifts in a way. I mean, everybody is gifted and sees the world differently. And I love the genius that everybody has. Whatever it's labeled, everybody has a certain kind of genius. And since this book is really about different forms of genius and the way that, that it's perceived, and the ways that can be driven underground in the name of other people's fear, when in fact you're very special.
And we are talking today. I'm sorry?
Does that make sense, I said?
I think it does make sense. I was going to go to a quick break, but I think you make absolute sense. Everyone does have their own genius. I totally agree with you there. And what we're going to do is take a quick short break. We're talking to Tosca Lee, New York Times bestselling author. If you want to call in and weigh in, you certainly can by calling in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air. Or hit me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #WriteStuff with your questions and comments. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break, and we'll be right back after these brief messages. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
God gives humans the gift of making amazing stories to glorify Him. At speculativefaith.com, our ministry is to help fans explore fantasy, science fiction, supernatural stories, and beyond from an intentional and biblical Christian perspective. We share daily articles and have extensive archives tackling hot topics like end times beliefs, the art of writing, creative excellence in the Christian subcultures, discernment, sex, magic, Harry Potter, and space aliens and the Bible. If you are a parent or anyone else with a discriminating palate, our reviewers explore fantastical novels, movies, television, and games in light of God's beauty, goodness, and truth.
Want to find Christian stories? The Spec Faith Library lists every fantastical novel we can find from a Christian author. It's all part of our mission to discern, engage, and enjoy fantastical human creativity in honor of our Creator, Jesus Christ. SpeculativeFaith.com, exploring fantastical stories for God's glory.
Jesus said, "Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. Freely you received, freely give." Listen to our internet radio station at touchofgodradio.org, where you will find out your true identity in Christ. You can use the light that is within you to replace the darkness in this world. Go into all the world today with touchofgodradio.org.
What's up, y'all? This is your bro, Robbie Newborn, Christian rap evangelist, ministry leader, and founder of GDT Walking Out Ministries, a drug awareness, peer mentoring, and counseling ministry that spreads a message of hope to the hopeless, bringing the gospel to the street. I am a recovery specialist, intervention, drug prevention professional, so if you're looking for a counselor or counseling or someone to just talk to, please call me at 484-525-9832. My website is www.rdsjr.com. God bless you all from all of us at GDT, Walking Out Ministries, and Team God. Peace and Christ love. Come on.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff. Hi, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Right Stuff here on WPJC 104.5. So glad you're able to join me, and the reason why is because you have an opportunity to talk to Tosca Lee. She is our New York Times best-selling author of I don't know how many books, and she's with us to talk to us about her work and also about Realm Makers 2016. Let me tell you, you want to stay tuned because when she starts to talk about Realm Makers, you are going to be excited, especially if you like Christian speculative fiction. If you're a Christian like speculative fiction, Realm Makers is for you. And especially if you're a writer who wants to write Christian speculative fiction, or a Christian writer who writes speculative fiction, or a speculative fiction lover, you are going to want to be at this conference. It's Realm Makers 2016, and Tosca is going to be one of the presenters there, and she's going to be talking about that a little bit later on in our broadcast. Again, Tosca, once again, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I got kind of happy talking about Realm Makers because it's so exciting. I've seen this conference grow over the years, and it's getting bigger like I always knew it would get bigger. I'm excited about it. So if I can't keep myself down, it's because I'm just so excited about the conference. I know so many people are going to be there. If you want to go ahead, we can talk about it now. Let's go ahead and talk about Realm Makers.
Yeah,
let people know what it's about.
Yeah, let's talk about it. You know, Realm Makers is the place where, okay, so, you know, if you want to write, for instance, faith fiction, sometimes if you want to write like fantasy or sci-fi, you may kind of feel like you're on the fringe or you're a little bit on the outsider, you know, edge of things. If you do that in the mainstream media, but you're a person of faith and you want to incorporate faith elements, you might feel a little bit like you're kind of on the fringe there. So this is really the place to go where if you are writing from a position of faith and you want to write speculative fiction, which is really sci-fi, fantasy, or as my friend Jeff Gerke says, anything weird, you know, kind of in that category, this is for you. So you can go there and, you know, you can talk about all the Doctor Who stuff and Star Trek and Star Wars and Firefly stuff you want. And this is your tribe because they will understand you. And yet there's also people of faith there. So if you want to talk about how your fiction or how these speculative ideas that you have stories for intersect with your faith, this is a great place for you too. Because let's face it, there's a lot of sci-fi and fantasy stories that really are parables, analogies, you know, faith intersects the story. And so this is a great place for people of faith and of fantasy and sci-fi to gather and to talk about the craft of story writing, to find out more about how to get their work published, to learn from people who have done it, And it's also super fun because there's a dinner and you can dress up. You can go in costume. So you'll see everything from, oh gosh, my friend Ben showed up a couple of years ago with an alien bursting out of his middle from Aliens.
Oh, I love it.
You know, oh, it was the most genius costume ever. And then, you know, there's like werewolves and, you know, strange things, and, you know, Star Trek people, and, you know, the people in red are going to be the first ones to die because they always are. And yeah, and there's Doctor Who people, and so, you know, if that's who you are, this is a great place for you. And when I'm there, I always feel like I'm among my people. I've found my tribe, and it's just fun. You know, you're among fellow Christians, and you're also among nerds. You know, proud nerds. So there you go.
It's funny that you say that, because what's so interesting to me is like everyone right now is on this speculative fiction thing right now. Everyone's like, especially with the superhero movies and the comic books. And I remember Becky Miner, she's one of the organizers of the event. She said, I was a geek before everyone else thought it was popular. I never forgot when she said that. And I totally agree with her, because now it's all fashionable to go, now I'm a Doctor Who movie.
There's superheroes everywhere. You can get comic books. You can talk about it. But, yeah, back in the day, it used to be kind of different. But, yeah, so basically this is where the cool people hang out.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said that, because I remember, because I was into Star Trek, and I'm actually writing under another pen name called Parker Payne. I'm writing my fantasy and spec under that particular name. And the reason why is to honor my grandmother. My grandmother's last name is Payne. And it's to honor her because she taught me how to read and write. And she was one of the first geeks in the family, especially from the back in the 50s, where she used to watch all those old sci-fi movies. You know, the Monolith Monster, the 50-foot tall woman. I mean, I can name a bunch of them that she used to watch. And then we were into Star Trek. I'm a definite diehard Trekkie. I'm insane Trekkie, and I know I am. I have to be careful sometimes because I can have a whole conversation on Star Trek. And so she was like the original geek in our family. And so she passed that love of the weird to us. The love of the weird. The love of the weird, yes. She passed it to us. And so it's my way of kind of honoring her. And so I wrote it under my spec fiction. I write under my pen name of Parker Payne. I just put out my first fantasy since we last talked, Tosca. I put my first fantasy, and that was called Druid Spear. It's all Japanese. Like most of the characters are Japanese. I took Japanese for 4 years, and I like anime and all that kind of stuff. So all that is going to be like combined at Realm Makers. Those people who like the same things I like, that we get kind of excited over knowing how many levels of the ship the Enterprise have. I mean, when they do this and all this other kind of stuff, you know, we're going to get all excited about that, and that generates all of that. Plus, we have that thread, that common thread of our love for our Savior, who gave us these fantastical ideas and this talent to explore the fantastical, you know, and that's what makes Realm Makers so special. And to see this grow as I've been watching the Realm Makers grow each year, it's just so exciting, because it shows a trend going on, Tosca, that I want you to kind of expand on. It shows a trend that Christian spec fiction is growing. In your own opinion, why do you think that is?
You know, I think part of it has to do with the fact that there's so much more of it in the mainstream media right now. Like all the superhero comic book, you know, stuff is coming out in movies now. You know, like there's an Avengers movie or something, you know, Batman versus Superman coming out, you know, pretty regularly now. So it's so much a part of our mainstream culture that, you know, it just kind of goes to follow that this would come out too. I mean, look at the TV shows that are on TV. You've got The Walking Dead. You've got, you know, so much of this stuff, Blind Spot, you know, stuff that deals with, you know, different things happening other than your, you know, regular kind of crime dramas or, you know, whatever. So I think part of it's that. I think part of it too is that, you know, the Christian media has grown so much. I mean, you'll always have your romances. You'll always have your, you know, Amish stories and things. But, you know, for people who really like weird stuff, I think that they really want to be heard, and they want books and they want stories to get lost in. And there's more and more people saying, hey, look, you know, we've got stories to tell too. And it is just getting bigger, and Realm Makers has gotten bigger. in just the last few years. I mean, I visited it last year, I keynoted the year before, and it has just grown so much, and it's so fun, and it's such a comfortable place. I mean, you don't feel ever like an outsider there, you know? You feel at home.
And that's the thing, because in what you just said here, you get lost in these worlds, you get lost in these scenarios, you get lost in the imagination of someone else's writing, you know. And I think about how Hava, I know it's not quote unquote spec, but I think about Hava and just the rich detail.
Yeah.
And
There's no spaceship.
I enjoy it regardless of what anyone calls it. But it's like you get lost into this realm and you get lost there. And so what happens when you get people around there who have gotten lost with you in that same world? Like me, like I go back to Star Trek, like I got lost in Star Trek. I mean, for a while you know, when we were kids, we would play Star Trek. We would have all our beds be different ships.
You want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you want to experience it with somebody else.
Yeah.
And
like
you want to talk about the ship. You want to talk about the characters. You want to. I always had a crush on Worf personally, but
really?
You know, you want to talk about these things. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, I didn't like Worf. I like Data.
I kind of like Data too, but Worf was my guy.
Oh my gosh, Worf was. I liked his strength. You know, I liked his character. He was a complex character because
he was a stand-up guy.
Yes. He was very honorable.
And he growled.
Yes. And of course, when a man growls.
Rear. Yeah.
Right. That's hysterical. Oh my gosh. I lost track of my thoughts just then. Okay. We did get a question. We got a question from Donovan. Donovan from Michigan. Donovan says, he said, what is the biggest challenge that you still face as an author? Donovan, thank you so much for your comment. Tosca, you want to answer that?
As an author in general, and hi, Donovan. So as an author in general, you know, these days one of the biggest challenges if you're, you know, writing stories and putting them out there is just finding ways to reach your readers, you know, because this whole publishing thing has changed so much. So finding ways to reach your readers and say, hey, you know, to find your tribe among your readers and say, hey, you like what I like, here's a story, you know, for you. So being able to find those people, you know, is a challenge, and that's why authors are doing so much social media and things like that. But that's hard, and I think, you know, after you write a certain number of stories, I think being able to go in and write a new story and just tell yourself, okay, you know, forget the reviewers, forget the awards, forget all this other stuff. I'm now writing a story from scratch, and I'm going to write it like secret stuff. I'm writing this in secret, and I'm writing cool stuff. And you blocking all that stuff out, that gets really hard after a while. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
You know, you kind of have to fake yourself out, you know, and just say, okay, I'm writing secret, cool stuff. And you write the secret, cool stuff that is cool to you, but being able to block that out after a certain number of books gets, I think, harder. But reaching readers is it's getting harder, I think. So being able to find those people, that's why authors are doing so many blogs and so much social media, and they're out there. So, yeah, I think that's what it is. The stories are always there. The ideas are always there. I mean, every author I know has a zillion ideas that they're waiting to write. So,
I know I certainly do. There's so many ideas that's raging around in my brain, hoping for exit, and it's like I'm getting to it. So you kind of think these different characters is pounding at your skull. I'm getting to you, I promise. But you know, it's interesting you say that, because every author, especially now with the saturation of books, the saturation of authors, especially indie authors who have taken over the industry, it's just saturated.
Which is great.
There's so many. Yeah, it's great.
But there's so much stuff. Yeah. So it's great, and then there's so much stuff. So, you know, how do you, even as a reader, say, this is the kind of thing I'm interested in, and, you know, how do you find it? You can search for it, but you may or may not find it. So having, you know, kind of making that connection between a reader and an author, you know, through story, you know, you have to search it out a little bit. So
I think you hit on a nail too, because of the saturation of the industry. a cover. You used to say, don't judge a book by its cover. But nowadays, people judge by the covers because they don't have a lot of time to hope and pray this book is going to be good. There will be people who will go ahead and buy a book. I mean, you know, to me, I'm old enough to remember when you did not get books for free. And when you got a book for free, it was like, oh, my gosh, I got this guy's book for free. I mean, you would put that on the wall next to.
That was called the library.
Yes. And you had to return those. I remember, you know,
I remember that.
Nowadays people expect you to, they expect to not have to invest into you until they've read your book. It's very interesting. They expect not to invest in you until you offer them.
Different.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with it because you figure I work very hard for this, but at the same time, people expect for you to kind of court them, whereas the readers, you will court them anyway as a writer, but it just changed. Like the whole atmosphere has changed, and like you said, it's just hard being out to your readers because there is so much. I know for myself, you know, I've my next book is coming out week after yours, Tosca. My new book in my series is coming out, and for that book, I've been promoting it since December. You know.
Oh yeah. What's it called? Tell us about it. It's called
Ventral Vows. Yeah, it's called Ventral Vows, and been promoting since December. And this is like what I mean by promoting, like just putting little feelers out there, put a little excerpt, little trailer,
that's a
little
lot
cover
of work.
reveal. Yeah, and over 6 months to hopefully just generate that what's the word I want to use?
That interest. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with that, even as an established author as yourself, you still have to get to the readers out there. You still got to get there and block out, you know, reviewers, block out the awards, block out, you know, all that kind of stuff. You just want to get back to the art itself, just writing the story. And I think I totally agree with you there. So we had a comment from Deborah in Sweetwater. She says, congratulations on your new book. I love that you are a fresh, exciting voice in the Christian fiction. Congratulations on your marriage. Deborah, thank you so much for your comment. So, Tosca, you want to respond to her?
Oh, thank you so much, and I appreciate it, and I hope you'll check out the new book. And you know what? Marriage is great. I'm so happy. I've been so blessed, and I'll tell you what, becoming a wife and a mom all at once, I have never been so happy and blessed and tired, and I keep forgetting stuff and dropping balls, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to do this or that, and it's been awesome though, because there's always something to laugh at every day. There's always something like, you know, crazy that, you know, I'm like, oh, I don't know how to figure this out every day, and at the end of the day, you know, I'm exhausted and happy, and you know what, God is good. God is good. And
Amen.
It's just been a great several months. So, yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy for you. Because I know being married a long time, I'm always happy for couples who are married. I'm always happy for them. I always think that we don't encourage younger couples a lot. That we tend to say, oh, you're just in the honeymoon phase. No one cares. Just wait till you're married this fall. And I would never want to do that to anybody. I would never want
well, you know what, and I'll tell you something, too. This is a second marriage for me, and it's a second marriage for my husband. And I think that, you know, having been through some tough times and some hard things, it's like, I don't know, I kind of feel like, I don't know, I just feel especially blessed because we've both been through some hard things, and so I'm just really grateful every single day, and it's so fun. You know, my favorite thing in the world is to send cheesy texts to my husband, you know, in the middle of the day, you know, like, I love you, you know, just like super stupid things, but you know, and so life is good. It's good. So busy.
Oh, bet you got a lot going on. Yeah, a lot going on.
They like keep wanting to be fed, and they want like shelter, like, you know, and clothing.
I love it.
So if you have tips or anything, send them in.
All right.
All my readers, I'm like, send me your crock pot recipes. I have 3 crock pots now after getting married, so you know I have crock pots. So send the stuff. But no, it's awesome. It's awesome. And you know what? I think that when you've got people who love you in your life and who ground you, it just puts this whole crazy writing world and writing career in perspective and just reminds you of what's really important. Because you can get kind of crazy about the writing thing and all this stuff and books coming out, and you know, but it reminds you what's really important at the end of the day. That's what I love.
And we are just having a wonderful conversation with Tosca Lee, New York Times bestselling author Tosca Lee. She is returned to the right stuff to tell us about her book, as well as Realm Makers 2016, and anything else you want to talk to her about. If you want to weigh in on our topic, you can by calling in at 646-668-8485, and then press 1 to be live on air, or you can hit me on Twitter at ParkerJCole, #RightStuff, with your questions and comments. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break, and when we come back, more with Tosca Lee right here on The Right Stuff. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guests on The Right Stuff radio show. We'll be right back.
Are you a reader looking for more compelling Christian fiction? Maybe something a little more edgy or a bit more real? Are you tired of most Christian fiction shying away from the truth and settling for a rose-tinted view of the world and its issues? Or are you an author who has a compelling story to tell, but you're afraid it doesn't jive with today's brand of Christian or secular fiction? Are you tired of Christian publishers telling you that your content is too edgy? Or maybe you've tried submitting your content under the radar to secular publishers only to be told your themes are a bit too religious? We invite you to take a look at the Crossover Alliance. We are an online publishing company that specializes in edgy Christian speculative fiction with Christian themes and real-world content. Our company is formed from authors and readers just like you who are breaking into the mainstream and Christian markets with this compelling genre. Head over to the www.thecrossoveralliance.com for all the details on who we are, what we do, and what we accept. Right now, if you sign up for our email newsletter, you'll receive a free digital copy of our first short story anthology. Check us out today and help us spread the word about the Crossover Alliance, where light shines brighter in the darkness.
Have you read the latest issue of Sormag Digital, the award-winning literary magazine for multicultural readers and writers? Sormag Digital is available quarterly and showcases interviews with the best authors in multicultural literature. Sormag Digital features craft and business articles for those interested in writing. If you're looking for a good book, check out our book reviews on what's hot in multicultural literature. For writers looking for new readers to get in front of, Sormag Digital is the perfect place to introduce your book. We offer advertising spaces that fit your promotional budget. Get your free subscription on sormag.com or order a print issue on magcloud.com. If you would like more information about Sormag Digital, check us out on sormag.com or contact us at sormag@yahoo.com. Sormag Digital is the magazine for multicultural readers and writers.
Question: if you write a book, everybody will rush out to buy it. Obvious answer: no. If you were a celebrity or if you had a huge marketing budget, then maybe you can get a lot of exposure for your book. Another solution would be to check out joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com is a promotion and marketing service with access to over 1/3 of a million followers on Twitter. joeytweets.com has 3 packages available to fit any budget. That's joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com. Get some serious exposure for your books.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff. Hi, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Right Stuff here on WPJC 104.5. Having a wonderful time with my guest co-host and contributor today, the only Tosca Lee. She's a New York Times bestselling author of so many books, and her newest book, The Progeny, is coming out. And Tosca wants to thank you. Now, I have told that I need to let you talk more about you right now while we're on break. So I want you to go ahead and tell us a little bit more about, what makes Tosca click. I mean, you got these stories going on. You get your fandoms. They want to know. They want to eat up and gobble up your words. Tell us what's going on in the mind of Tosca Lee when she gets all these wonderful thoughts going on in her head.
Oh gosh. Well, I get asked a lot where my thoughts come from, and honestly, I'm in my car a lot, so it comes from driving a lot or just random things I've thought about or wondered about. But the things I love to do, they're kind of really mundane. I mean, I love to just hang out, and I love to watch TV. If I can binge watch a TV show, I'm a pretty happy girl. I love hanging out with the kids, and we play football and stuff. And, I have a husband who who has a really great brain and loves to brainstorm things. So I'm really blessed in that way. But, you know, what makes me tick at the end of the day is just thinking about stuff and getting to explore story. I still think story is the greatest medium in the world. It's the greatest way to explore ideas. And, you know, if I can eat something good while I'm doing it, then I'm happy. So I'm a pretty basic girl.
I like that. I think sometimes as readers we get so awed of the writers that we love that we forget, hey, they have to eat like you do.
I eat a lot. I tweet a lot about food. I blog about food. So, you know, my life is a very normal, dare I say normal, very normal life. So, yeah.
Like what food do you like, Tosca?
Oh, are you kidding me? I'll eat anything. Okay, so I admit it. I like McDonald's, and I like McDonald's French fries, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I love a good meal. You know, I like going to a nice restaurant, but, you know, you give me biscuits and gravy on a Sunday or a hot dog or any biscuit or a sandwich or French fries, crispy fries. Oh, my gosh. Red Lobster biscuits. I mean, a crispy salad with blue cheese dressing. Give me, you know what, movie buttered popcorn with the fake buttery topping.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm all about that. I'm all about it. Last night at 2 a.m, I was making the kids cinnamon rolls for breakfast when they woke up because I was still awake, and I'm eating soft-boiled eggs. So, and bacon, of course, bacon. So it doesn't.
Everything tastes better with bacon.
That's right.
You know, if it's not moving, you'll eat it, right? Pretty much.
That's right. Well, if it's still moving, I might still eat it. You never know. So.
I like that. We got a comment from Reggie. Reggie said, he said, you know what, I like food too, but I'm trying to control my little urges here. So more power to you, Tosca, when it comes to that. Reggie from Twitter says, sounds like my kind of lady, bring on the snack. That's what Regina said on Twitter. Right. So Regina, I hear you. I like people who aren't afraid to say I want to eat.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, since gaining kids in my life now, I have discovered these things called Totino's pizzas and Totino's pizza rolls, which I had never had before. And these things are like the most addictive, horrible, wonderful things in the world. And the pizza rolls, oh my gosh. And now when the kids are sleeping and I'm on deadline, I'm like sneaking down to the freezer and I'm like, they'll never notice that they're missing. I love it. So, you know, I'm all about the food.
Now, we got another question from Donovan. Donovan says, can we get your take on indie publishing and where do you see the industry going? Donovan, thanks so much for your question. Tosca?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, a lot of my friends are doing indie publishing and a lot of my friends are hybrids. So they're doing, you know, traditional publishing and indie publishing. And I think it's great. I mean, you know, it's just a question, if you're an indie published author, of finding that audience that we talked about earlier and being able to connect with those people, especially if you want to sell those books, because it's true, there's more and more authors and books, you know, flooding the marketplace out there. So it's just a question of finding that. But I think it's great. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So yeah, it's great for authors. So
I think that's a good point too. It's just, I know for myself, I'm a hybrid myself, because I think that's just a nice balanced place to be. That's just how I feel about it. But who knows what will happen in the next few years? You know, you never know whether you go one way or the other way or continue. Yeah, because it changes so rapidly. Yeah. It just changes so rapidly.
Yeah,
so
it does.
Let me ask you this, Tosca. You know, as a seasoned writer, what do you see that has changed about yourself as a seasoned writer? So you first as a newbie, you know, how were you as a newbie writer to a seasoned writer? What do you see that's changed about yourself?
Oh, gosh, you know, a lot of things. I mean, I used to really overwrite my books a lot, and I've kind of quit doing that. I used to write my books. They used to be 2 or 3 times as long as the finished product, and then I'd have to cut them back. And that was just part of kind of learning my process. The other thing I've learned is, oh gosh, I remember the first times I ever saw like a negative review and my heart would start pounding and I'd feel like I was going to have a panic attack or something. And now, you know, I see reviews like that, and I don't want to say I have a thick skin, because I really don't. I'm a very sensitive person. But I've also learned that when you get like really nasty reviews, just like when you get like maybe nasty comments in real life, sometimes those things are really telling you more about what's going on with the other person than it's telling you about what's going on with you. You know, so it's given me some more perspective, and I think part of that just comes with experience. You know what I mean? So I think too. Yeah, keep going.
Well, no, when you said I was going to ask you a question, because a lot of newbie writers feel the same way. So let me ask you, as a seasoned writer, are you currently going to be like coaching writers? Are you going to have like a writing class? Are you going to do something like that?
You know, I do some of that. I'm speaking at ICBM, which is for faith filmmakers, actually, in June, and I'm speaking at Realm Makers in July, and then I'll be speaking in Florida in October. So I do some of that, and I do teach. So yeah, it's really cool to be able to share some of that. But you know, it's important to know that, you know, even after you become a bestseller or blah blah blah, you know, whatever, that, you know, you're still learning, and it's all a process. It's not a destination. You're still just kind of figuring things out and experimenting and trying new things out as you go.
I like how you said that. I want to kind of return to something you said earlier, because you actually mirrored my own experience when I had my first negative review, and I actually took it a lot worse than probably you, because I was out for 4 days. I binged on Mountain Dew and marshmallows. I wanted to throw away my computer. I thought I could never write again. I was out for like 4 days, and I had to work with this perpetual black cloud over my head. And so it's kind of cool to see that writers, especially, all have the same experiences, you know. And is that like something you can tell newbie writers out there? Like, even if you get your first book out there and you may get a critical review, can you speak to some encouragement to that new writer when they see that critical review?
Yeah, you know, I was just telling this to a friend today, and he's about ready to put his first book out. And, you know, you do the work, and the work is writing, and the work is marketing. So that's your job, you know. But at the end of the day, there comes a point when you've done the work, you've done the marketing, you've helped to get the word out, and you just release the results, because you can't control how other people are going to respond. You can't control other people's behavior. You can't control if they're going to like it or not. You've done the best you can, and you've done the work to get it out there. So you let it go, and you release the results. And there is a certain amount of peace and freedom that comes from that. And that's hard to remember, because you want to feel like, oh, I can do more, I can make them like this or whatever. No, you do the work, and then you release the results, and then you let the chips fall where they're going to fall. And then you go on to the next thing, because this is not the only thing you're going to do in your life. You have other stuff to do.
Wow, that is pretty profound. I wish I had a little.
It's just practical, though.
Yeah, that's profound.
Yeah.
That's quite profound.
Thank you.
Because you do have other things to do.
Yeah, there's other stuff. You've got another book to write, or another story to tell, or, you know, whatever the next thing is. So, yeah. And you can't spend your whole time worrying about why this person or that person, it didn't resonate with them. Well, it wasn't for them then. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. As you look through your writing career, you know, you have a lot of books out there. What book would you say changed you, and fundamentally as a person? I know we often go to our first book because it's when it's first out there, but I'm sure as you write, you mature with each book. So what book would you say was the one that changed you? Or maybe you had a profound thing happen to you, you had an epiphany. Which book do you think, or did a book associate with you having that profound change in yourself or something like that?
Well, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question before, Parker. Usually it's like, which book is your favorite? And, you know, you're like, I can't pick. You know, the one that changed me, the one that kind of marked a change for me might be Iscariot, my story about Judas, because, you know, I spent like 3 years of my life working on that book and studying the life of Jesus, because even though it was a first-person story of Judas, it was really a story of Jesus. And I kind of got to the point where it was like, we really like to think that we know all the answers, and we've got this neat spreadsheet of answers because we've been to church and we've studied all this stuff. But at the end of the day, God is a God of mystery. And, it kind of brought me back to this place of, there are certain things that we will not know in this life or understand, and we have to be okay with that. And we have to allow room to embrace mystery. And so that was important to me. Yeah.
That's interesting you say that, and I only mention that because because I know writers grow with each book, and you grow as you. And I appreciate your work that you've done, especially in the Christian spec fiction realm. I appreciate the work that you've done, and you've made it okay. You've helped bring about this. Along with you and many other authors, you help bring about this new wave of interest in Christian spec fiction. Do you think, just as a writer, because a lot of mainstream Christian fiction is generally, I don't want to say they're not hostile anymore. I don't want to say hostile, but they are a little bit more reluctant to take on spec fiction, especially from a Christian worldview. They're a little bit reluctant on that. Do you see that changing over time? What are your thoughts?
I think so. I think that I see kind of an embracement, is that a word? An embracing of mystery, happening with other people too. And maybe it's something that happens more towards, your middle-aged years. Not that I want to date myself, but I kind of feel like the more that we start to embrace mystery, the more that we're not drawing these firm lines in the sand and saying, no, this has to be that and that's that. And, you don't mix your peas and your carrots. And you see that there are connections between a lot of that stuff. And so we can, be more open to different kinds of stories, without being threatened by them. Because that's really kind of what it boils down to. Are we threatened by this kind of story,
I like that. The more we embrace mystery, we stop putting down those lines and kind of be more open to that. And like you just went to how that mystery of God that still exists. And I totally resonate with what you said about that. Because you think we know, and then we go, wow, we really don't know.
I don't know. I think that we know, and then we get to a point in our lives, whether, it's a catastrophe or a tragedy or a divorce or some personal thing, and we get to a point where we're like, I don't know what I thought I knew. And you kind of have to go back to the basics, and you're like, okay, what do I know? Well, I only know this much, I know God loves me. I know Jesus loves me. Okay, well, maybe that's enough for now.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I totally agree with you there. Tosca, I have just been having so much fun with you, but we are literally 5 minutes away from
the end of this show. By.
It just flew by. I want again to make sure that our listeners do get a chance to know about your newest release. Go ahead, tell them about your newest release one more time, as far as when it's going to be available, where they can get it, all that good stuff. Go ahead and tell about your newest release real quick.
All right. Well, it's called The Progeny, and it is a thriller, and you can buy it anywhere books are sold. You can buy it in Christian bookstores. You can buy it in any other bookstores, your Barnes & Noble, your Amazon, online, wherever. And it will be out a week from today. So 1 week.
Wow. Oh, it's exciting. Now, how many books is this for you total?
I think this is 8 if you don't count the skeletons in my basement. So, yeah.
In your basement.
There's a few of those.
I love it. That just means they're waiting for flesh. That's all they're doing. They're just waiting for flesh. That's all.
Yeah. They can keep waiting. They're not good.
You said, no, you don't want to read that one or know about that one.
So.
Well, let me say this. We're getting close to the end of our show, and I always want our contributors to always give an encouraging word to those authors out there who God has given them the gift to write, and they want to write spec, they want to write romance or something else. They've given them the gift to write, and they haven't picked up the pen to do that. Could you speak some encouragement to them?
Yeah, you know what? Don't put pressure on yourself. If you feel like you're supposed to write, just treat it like you're doodling. Some of the best writing happens when you're bored and you're sitting in class or something like that. Just don't take the pressure off. just make some doodles and just start scribbling out some stuff. You know, don't put pressure on yourself and think you have to write this big, giant, major thing. Just put it down and see what happens, and you can make sense out of it later. That's the best way to write, honestly.
And again, thank you so much, Tosca, for being with us on the show. We can't wait to see you at Railmakers, where you'll be doing one of the presentations at Railmakers. It's very exciting. And thank you so much for being with us on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back again. Yay.
Yes, it's so much fun. And thank you again so much, Tosca.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Parker.
And we were talking today to Tosca Lee, New York Times bestselling author of so many books. Her newest book is The Progeny. It is coming out next week. So you definitely want to go ahead and get a copy of that as soon as possible. Next week, get her book, The Progeny. You're going to love her book, first of all. Make sure you leave a review because she still needs reviews, okay? And make sure you follow her online. You can go to her website, toscalee.com. You can follow her on Twitter at Tosca Lee. You do not want to miss this woman's book. If you never heard of Tosca Lee, now you have. Go right now, pick up her books. Loving My Sister Day, go get her book today. And if you are a Christian author, a Christian writer, you love speculative fiction, you want to be around the other nerds just like you, go to Railmakers Conference this year. Go to railmakersconference.com. You will get so much information about Railmakers. So simply go there or simply type into your Google Railmakers 2016. Once you go there, you will always want to go there. You'll be around a bunch of nerds who love the Lord and Doctor Who and Star Trek and whatever else is out there. So you're going to have a lot of fun at Railmakers Conference this year. Again, Tosca will be one of the presenters at Railmakers, and you get a chance to talk to her and see her and learn from her as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this fabulous edition of The Right Stuff. I am the queen of Tuesday nights, Parker J. Cole, and you have a wonderful. Thank you for joining us for this edition of The Right Stuff. Follow Parker online at parkerjcole.com. To hear this show and other shows, visit the show archive at therightstuffradio.wordpress.com. We'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.